Right, well, I was about to go to bed, and before I went to sleep, I checked my phone for any fight announcements, and what do you know, I saw 3 amazing fight announcements, so I thought I'd make this video right now, reacting to all of them. We've got some really good ones, and I mean, these are some very, very high quality fight announcements here. I'm not just making this video right now, at 4 AM UK time, when I have work tomorrow morning, for any old reason. These are amazing bouts. Let's just start with them right now. Marvin Vettori versus Paulo Costa, Joanne Calderwood versus Alexa Grasso, and also one more just in case those two aren't enough, Cody Garbrandt versus Kara France. I thought I'd give my opinion on all of them and maybe an early prediction as well. Starting with the biggest one of all of them in my opinion, Marvin Vettori versus Paulo Costa. I've been waiting for this fight to be made for so long. This is the perfect matchup. I was such a fan of this matchup even when Marvin Vettori called out Paulo Costa after his win against Jack Hermansson. If you'll remember, that's who he originally had planned as his title elimination bout for his Israel Adesanya title shot. Things didn't go that way. Marvin Vettori ended up getting a title shot a little bit earlier. Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori. I just want to know one thing. Please, oh please, I know this is not on a pay-per-view card. This will be main eventing a fight night on October the 23rd. Can we just have a press conference anyway? Because this will be the best press conference of all time. I know that Israel Adesanya beat Marvin Vettori and Paulo Costa, but in my honest opinion, Paulo Costa and Marvin Vettori were the highlights of the Adesanya fight press conferences. Paulo Costa was amazing against Israel Adesanya the first time. He had so many great lines. Then Marvin Vettori's performance at the last press conference for UFC 263. I mean, he just made a statement there and became folklore in the fighter community from that day forward. Marvin Vettori, man. I feel like he's going to get the job done over Paulo Costa. I don't mind Paulo Costa's chances, but I don't see Marvin Vettori getting finished or knocked out by Paulo Costa. And I definitely don't see Paulo Costa going 5 hard rounds with Marvin Vettori. I could definitely see Marvin Vettori winning this one 3-2 based on the later 3 rounds. Paulo Costa maybe edging the first 2, winning the first one quite well. Then the second one gets a little bit closer, but Paulo Costa does enough early. Then in the later 3 rounds, Marvin Vettori starts to pull ahead and getting himself some 10-9 rounds and wins it 3-2. That's how I see this fight playing out. Paulo Costa, of course, could maybe finish Marvin Vettori with some body shots or some head shots. Listen, I know Paulo Costa got completely embarrassed against Israel Adesanya, and Marvin Vettori has put up some decent performances compared to other middleweights at least. Maybe not decent performances, but they were compared to other middleweights where the way that Paulo Costa got beaten by Israel Adesanya, the way Robert Whittaker did as well, Marvin Vettori did okay to last 5 rounds against Israel Adesanya. However, Paulo Costa, I know he got embarrassed. He's still the guy who stood in a cage with Yoel Romero with his hands behind his back, saluted Romero into a right-hand punch, and just traded bomb for bomb with Yoel Romero for the better part of 3 rounds. He's still a savage. I just don't believe his style is made to go 5 rounds. Marvin Vettori's going to have a reach advantage, of course. Everyone is going to have a reach advantage over Paulo Costa. He has T-Rex arms. I think Marvin's just going to be able to stick and move here, and I think it's going to be a good test, though, because it will test just how durable Marvin Vettori is. We've seen that he's taken big shots throughout his career. Omari Akhmedov tried to put the pressure on him early and take him out of there, and he took it all well. Rolled with the shots pretty well, was very defensively aware, and his defensive skills in the division, in my opinion, are some of the best, because he rarely gets hit clean with big shots that rock him. Occasionally, maybe against Kevin Holland, but he's a weird angle fighter. Very long arms, catching you where you least expect it. Paulo Costa's a little bit of a simpler matchup for Marvin Vettori, and I do believe he'll get this one done. However, maybe this is the resurgence of Paulo Costa, but both guys need this one to stay in the title picture. It's going to be hard for both of them to earn fights again with Israel Adesanya at middleweight, because Marvin Vettori has had his 2 fights with Israel Adesanya, so I think he's going to have to win like 3 in a row in order to get that trilogy fight, because he's already lost the first 2. Paulo Costa, he's only lost 1, but it was the way he lost the 1. He's going to need at least 2 more wins. Maybe the winner of this one then takes on the winner of Jared Cannonier versus Kelvin Gastelum, or Darren Till versus Derek Brunson. We'll see how it goes down, but those are the matchups I want to see. Marvin Vettori, Paulo Costa, amazing matchup. Just please a press conference. That's all I'm asking for. I'm a simple man. Just a press conference with Marvin Vettori and Paulo Costa present, and I will be very, very happy. Moving on to another fight that's been announced. Joanne Calderwood versus Alexa Grasso. This is a good one as well. I mean, in the women's flyweight division, this is actually good progression for both of them. Flyweight division right now. Joanne Calderwood, arguably, in my opinion, won her last fight, but they didn't give her the decision against Lauren Murphy. Lauren Lucky Murphy putting her name to good use. Not so lucky now. You're next for Valentina Shevchenko, bitch. But that's another robbery win for you. I thought Joanne Calderwood beat her, so this will be a good matchup for Joanne Calderwood. I would probably lean towards Joanne Calderwood here. Don't get me wrong, Alexa Grasso's good. But I think the next level of flyweights are just a little bit better than these other ones down below. And I don't think Alexa Grasso really is all that amazing. She had a 2-1 performance against Macy Barber, so did Miranda Maverick. I think Joanne Calderwood on the feet is going to be able to get the better of Alexa Grasso, just based on volume, based on range. She's way longer than Alexa Grasso. She's also got, in my opinion, maybe a tiny bit of a grappling advantage just because she's a bit of a bigger girl in Joanne Calderwood. I think Joanne Calderwood can actually win this one against Alexa Grasso. It'll be interesting to see the odds. But this is good movement in the women's flyweight division. It makes sense. Alexa Grasso number 10, Joanne Calderwood number 6. Got to get the movement going. Only one can stay. If Joanne Calderwood loses this one, I don't know what's really next for her career. In all honesty, she's going to be way down those rankings. She'll probably continue fighting. This isn't really like an end-of-the-road fight for Joanne Calderwood, but tough matchup. I think maybe Calderwood gets the better of this one, but Alexa Grasso's very good, and I'd actually prefer her to win because we need new blood in the women's flyweight division. Valentina Shevchenko is sitting on a throne on top of a pile of just bones right now. It's a graveyard. She's the graveyard queen right now, Valentina Shevchenko. There's nothing left in the women's flyweight division. So we need new blood. Hopefully Alexa Grasso gets it done, but I don't believe she does. Moving on to a more important one towards the end here, the last fight announced. Cody Garbrandt versus Kai Kara-France, December 11th. I mean, it's a good matchup, don't get me wrong. In all honesty, I would rather Cody Garbrandt versus Davison Figueiredo in the flyweight division for a title elimination bout. In my honest opinion, they've finessed Cody Garbrandt here. I'm sure Cody Garbrandt thinks if he wins this one, he's going to get himself a title shot in the flyweight division. I don't think so, in all honesty. I think Kai Kara-France is not a guy to get you a title shot right now in the flyweight division. You've got Askar Askarov, which Brandon Moreno doesn't even seem to mention. He beat him, by the way. I thought Moreno beat Askarov, but it was a draw officially on the scorecard. You know how the judges can be. But Askar Askarov is a worthy contender for the title. Alejandro Pantoja has a win over Brandon Moreno, and he's on a win streak right now and is taking on Brandon Royval soon. So if he wins that one, he's going to have earned a title shot. Number 7, Kai Kara-France gets Cody Garbrandt a title shot off of a losing streak right now. He had 1 win in his last 5, I believe it is, against Rafael Assunção, and before that he lost to Dillashaw twice, lost to Pedro Munoz, now lost to Rob Font as well. I don't think this gets him a title shot, in all honesty, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we can actually get Cody Garbrandt to take on some contenders in the flyweight division if he gets past Kai Kara-France, but man, I can so see Kai Kara-France chinning him in the first round, because Garbrandt, his chin was okay against Rob Font, in all honesty, so maybe it'll be a good thing, but Dillashaw is a different man down there at flyweight, and Garbrandt is a similar size to Dillashaw. I know Dillashaw might be a little bit bigger mass-wise, but Cody Garbrandt is not a small guy for the bantamweight division. I know he is actually quite light for his size, but in terms of, like, he's going to be draining a lot of weight to make flyweight. And his chin is not the best, even though it might have been better than usual against Rob Font. His chin is not trustworthy, let's say, to be draining yourself down, where Cejudo was able to one-punch, basically put down and put TJ Dillashaw into a finishing state, and Dillashaw just walked through flying knees from Corey Sandhagen in the bantamweight division. I wouldn't mind the underdog of Kai Kara-France there, and I do believe he would be an underdog there as well. Good, approachable fight for the flyweight division for Cody Garbrandt, but we'll see how he does. I feel like it's just a little bit of a speed difference down there. There's like a frequency change. Moving up, you're the faster guy, so you're like, wow, things are a bit slower. I'm actually going to do quite good here. When you move down a weight class, things are so much faster. I could definitely see Kai Kara-France getting a KO, in all honesty. And I probably would pick him as well, but I'm undecided on that one, but I don't mind the chances of Kai Kara-France getting a big win. And plus, this is a big deal as well, because it's on the December 11th card, which is the pay-per-view, UFC 268, and the fact that Kai Kara-France is on this card gives us reasonable suspicion that maybe Israel Adesanya is going to be on this card as well, because if Kai Kara-France is on there, that's one CKB member. You know they like to work in groups. I could definitely see Israel Adesanya jumping on this card as well against Robert Whittaker. And it's a great card. You can get Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal on there. Brandon Moreno versus Askar Askarov 2. Then you have a replacement fight for the co-main event. If anything goes wrong in that title fight between Moreno and Askarov, you've got Garbrandt and Cara France on the card. Dan Ige versus Bryce Mitchell. Donald Cerrone, Jeremy Stevens. Condit versus Price. Olenek versus Hardy. Ryan Hall, Kron Gracie. I mean, there's matchups to make. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of matchups to make, and I think that'll be a great pay-per-view card. But those are amazing fights, man. And also, man, the middleweight fight is just... I think it's just bound to be a war, man. It's just bound to be an amazing fight, and I'm looking forward to it so much. Marvin Vettori, Paulo Costa, there's no way that fight is boring. I see no example of that. Now, I really do hope that Paulo Costa at least has a good showing for himself, because he has a chance to maybe go down as the most clowned on fighter that was once respected ever, because if he loses this one as well badly and doesn't do any good at all, and Marvin Vettori just basically just Paulo Costa's him from the start to finish, just beats the hell out of him and finishes him, it's going to be real bad for Paulo Costa. We'll see how things go down. I'm definitely leaning towards Marvin Vettori right now, and I think it's the safer pick as well, man. Marvin is young. People don't realize that, and in all honesty, I don't even, after watching the rematch, don't get me wrong, Israel Adesanya did beat Marvin Vettori, but watching that rematch, Vittori's 27. Izzy, I believe, is 32 years of age, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just check that right now. I think he is 32 years of age, yes. 32 years of age. You're telling me if they rematch when Israel Adesanya's 34, had a couple more wars, taken some more damage, maybe he gets dropped in a certain fight or even loses and bounces back, who knows? You're telling me if Israel Adesanya's 34... and Marvin Vettori's 29 coming into his prime and looking better than ever, I think Vettori's the only guy with a chance outside of Whittaker in the middleweight division. I don't see anyone else having the skills to beat Israel Adesanya and the versatility as well, because Marvin Vettori only recently started using grappling in his bouts, and I think if he goes for maybe a grappling game plan against certain opponents, he could get better at it, and he could do quite well for himself if he goes against Israel Adesanya again down the line. I would pick Israel Adesanya, but I think Vettori is that next level at middleweight right now. You've got Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Marvin Vettori, then everyone else, regardless of what the rankings say. I know it's number 4 versus number 2, Paulo Costa, but, you know, I think Marvin Vettori's the next best guy outside of the top 2. Great matchup, though. Looking forward to all of these fights. And that card as well for Marvin Vettori, we need to stack that one out. If that's in October, Bellator's got some good fights. UFC's got to start competing a little bit more now. They can't just allow just some terrible cards, I would hope, because god damn it, Bellator shows them up real bad sometimes, in all honesty, and it's getting better and better right now. So hopefully the competitiveness from Bellator will lead to better fight announcements coming soon. I just had to make this reaction video. We've also got OSP versus Felipe Lins. No one gives a fuck. But Julian Marquez versus Jordan Wright has also been announced October 16th. Great scrap. Really great one. I lean towards Julian Marquez, but I kind of don't mind the chances of Jordan Wright coming out there and doing something crazy, because he's got ridiculous power. But Julian Marquez, dangerous guy. I think he gets the job done. Amazing fight announcements. We'll see if there's any more soon. I really do hope so. I had to stay up and make this video. There's no way I couldn't capitalize on this moment. It was just announced, all of them. I literally refreshed the page after Vittori versus Costa, and I thought there's no way there's more. Then they released Joanne, Calderwood, Alexa Grasso on Headline Island's Instagram page, by the way, if you want to know where I get my fight announcements. Then I refresh one more time just before I make this video to see if there's any more, and I see Cody Garbrandt, Cara France. God, I'm going to sleep well. Goodbye.